Well, we have a new month. It's October, and I have chosen our theme this month is that the path to enlightenment. How many of you want to be enlightened? How many of you are enlightened? Ah! Well, if you look up the definition in Webster, it says that enlightenment is the realization of spiritual or religious understanding where the cycle of human desire and suffering are transcended. Whew, that's a tall order, isn't it? It seems to me that most of us would like to achieve enlightenment. However, I don't believe I'm alone in this, because there's a part of me that says, if I become enlightened, my whole life would really totally be transformed and be different, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. I kind of like my life the way it is. And then, too, I have this vision that if I'm enlightened, I'm sitting inside a cave somewhere, oming all day long. And, for whatever reason, that just doesn't thrill me. and so I think, what really is enlightenment? I don't believe that Webster's definition of it really tells us the whole story. And the reason why I brought this subject up this month is that I popped a DVD in a few months ago now, actually, that I have of Deepak Chopra. And it was on the path of enlightenment. And it is just fabulous. It's just amazing. It's not very long. It was about a half an hour. But it got me thinking, I think that's what I'm going to use for my theme. And I thought, I haven't really talked too much about Deepak Chopra here lately at all. I haven't used much of his material. So I looked on my bookshelf to grab the books that I have of Deepak's to see, what can I use, from books of his, besides this DVD information, that I can do this month. And, me. So I just grab the books and I look in the chapters and I go, okay, that's a good title, that's a good title, that's a good title. And I really don't put too much more energy into it other than that at the moment. So I grabbed this one book, and I'll tell you that the topic this morning is Be of One Mind. And then next week I'm actually not going to be here because you're going to have Reverend Hammonds. That's going to be really cool. But the following week, the topic is on passion and detachment. Well, both of those titles came out of a book that I had on my bookshelf, Deepak, and it's called Golf for Enlightenment. The 7 Lessons for the Game of Life. Now, I have to say I've never read the book, and I'm not a golfer. But they had enlightenment in the title. So I thought this should work. And so I started reading the book, obviously, because, I'm using it, being of one mind. Now, what today we're going to do is we're going to keep our eye on the ball. Well, that's one of the first lessons in this book of golf. How many of you are golfers, by the way? Do I have any? I know I have one golfer in here. Yeah, there you are. Oh, a sort of golfer. Okay. Well, obviously, when Deepak Chopra writes this book about golf, it's not just about golf. There's a lot of deeper meaning in it. And one of the things he talks about is that there is, when you hit the ball, you do keep your eye on the ball. That is true. When in golf, if you're going to be successful, you have to look at the ball. But then he talks about in the club that you're holding and that you're hitting the ball with, there's a thing called the sweet spot. And that's the aim, is to have the sweet spot of the head of the club hit the ball directly, okay? And what he says in there is a satisfying, solid thwack that any experienced player can hear and instantly know that the ball has been beautifully struck even before it lofts into the air on its flight. You know by hearing it. You can know that, whack, oh yeah, he hit the sweet spot. At any moment, we are all capable of hitting our sweet spot. We all have a sweet spot within us. And how do we get to it? Can you think, how can I get to my sweet spot? Well, you go into that Om position, right? That's the easy way to do it. I mean, if you go into meditation, you just feel that sweetness. It's there. But life is not just sitting, meditating all day long. Life is involving human beings that are doing things. And we have activities, that pull us in. All of the things that we think about, the things that we do. How do we hit the sweet spot when we're doing those activities? Well, he talked about the Vietnamese monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist monk, and he said he has 4 steps that remind us how we can get to that sweet spot, which is, i.e., mindfulness. We have a few folks here that know about mindfulness. And so his 4 steps to achieving mindfulness, hitting the sweet spot, the first one is stopping. Stopping the random activity of the mind that surfaces into a constant inner dialogue with yourself. The monkey mind. That keeps going all the time. So we want to stop that clatter. Number 1. Second, calming your emotions. The emotions which fuel the inner dialogue with fears, doubts, and remembered feelings from the past. Those emotions that spring up, that give us angst. Calm the emotions. The third one is resting your attention so that it comes to reside at a point of clear focus. What am I doing right now? I know I can multitask with the best of them. But what we want to do is to recognize that there is oneness. And in that oneness is unity. And when we focus on the one, clarity comes to us. And in the 4th step, that after you do all the other ones of stopping, of calming, of resting, the last one is healing or playing or then doing. In other words, he talks about it in golf. You're playing at that point in time. Because once you do all those things, you're centered. Now you can hit the ball. But you can use it in anything in life. Not just hit the ball, but what am I doing at this moment? That's what the game of life is all about, is doing and yet bringing that sweet spot of our energy and our essence to it and through it. This sweet spot is also called the divine source, love energy. You can name it anything you want. In the DVD, I was watching the DVD again, Deepak says, it's God. Now, a lot of people have issues with that word, God. It bristles them. Maybe in their history they've had some issue about the word God. So he said maybe you could change it and look at the word God in this respect. Give it this definition. Generation. That's the G. Generation. In other words, it's the creative energy where you're generating something, right? Generation. Organization. It organizes. This God stuff organizes, and the D would be delivery. Generation, organization, and delivery. This thing is weird for me to say, isn't it? Anyway. So I like that. I never heard of that before. God is generation, organization, and delivery system of the universe. It makes it less personal, I'm thinking. It makes it universal. And that's what we all are, part of it. So our topic this morning is called Be of One Mind. And being of one mind gives us that energy, that essence, that there is only unity. there's only oneness. And it brings us to enlightenment. I wanted to give you an example of how this sweet spot, how this divinity within all of us, if we look to the unity of it, if we look to everything being connected, how much it can provide us with what we need out of life. It's a story of the secret of the blue ribbon corn. There was once a farmer who every year entered his corn in the state fair, and every year his corn won a blue ribbon. One year, a newspaper reporter interviewed him and asked him about his secret to success. The reporter was quite surprised at what the farmer said. He said that for years he had been sharing his prize-winning seed corn with his neighbors. Why in the world would you share your best seed corn with your neighbors when you're entering the same corn competition every year? Don't you want to win? The reporter asked. He says, of course I want to win. But what I really want is to grow the very best corn possible. And to grow the best corn possible, I can't afford not to share. You see, the wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn that swirls it from field to field. So if my neighbors grow inferior corn, cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I am going to grow the best corn possible, then I must help my neighbors grow the best corn also. Very practical, very wise, very universal in knowing that there is a connection here. That I don't have to be out just for me, just for number one. That what is good for me is good for all. That's what enlightenment is about. Enlightenment is not about separation. Enlightenment is about connectivity, about letting and being part of this beautiful, inevitable flow of the universe and knowing that it's going to change. That's why we want to be mindful of every moment, because it's not going to be like the last moment. And it won't be like the future either. It's going to be just as it is right now. That farmer had the bigger picture in mind. It reminds me of the parable that Jesus told us. You know, don't look to the lilies of the field. They don't never toil or spin. You know, they don't have any hassle whatsoever. And yet Solomon, in all of his glory, has never been arrayed as one of these. God takes care of these flowers. How much more is he going to take care of you? O ye of little faith. It goes on to say, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto you. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will look after itself. Sufficient for each day is its own trouble. We don't have to worry about the trouble we'll have tomorrow. It'll come to us soon enough. But when we are mindful, when we are living in the sweet spot, we know that whatever is coming our way, we are available to have this power within us respond. To be it. To allow it to bless us with whatever gift it is giving us. I think one of the main things that we need to remember is to surrender. To surrender, to surrender. Life isn't a fight. It's not a battle. It's not something to win or lose. It's something to flow through. I was talking to someone here before church about how with ease and grace we moved into this new facility. And how all of this just came about really with no angst whatsoever. I mean, other than the rush of the move. But that really wasn't even angst, you know. It's amazing when you feel that flow of life with everything. Don't let anything out. Don't exclude what is happening in life. I wanted to share with you a portion of what he has in the Golf. Here's how it looks. Golf for Enlightenment. That's the book. I want to share with you, he says, applied to life. If you can be of one mind, you can be one with anything. The trick is to close the gap of perception. Today, tell yourself that you will see something familiar with new eyes. The results can be startling, even though the techniques to accomplish this shift are simple. Take any object that you once loved but have stopped seeing. A picture on the wall, a favorite shirt, a knick-knack on your desk. We all have those things, right? They're there, but we don't really see them. Now, instead of looking at it, give it life. Make up a name and start a dialogue, as if the object were alive and sharing its history with you. I remember when we met. You can start that way. It was the week before Christmas. I had given up finding something extra nice to give to X, and then I saw you. I loved you at first sight, so much so that I didn't give you away. I kept you. Now, make up a response from the object. I knew you liked me too. It was obvious. And you know what this reminds me of? My Buddha. It's exactly what happened when I saw my Buddha in that store. I said, oh, you're so cute. I just love you. And every morning I go over to him and I rub his belly and I pat his head. I said, I love you. And he looks at me and he smiles. He goes, I love you too. Okay, so back to the book. He says, this isn't a childish game. The more imaginative and alive your dialogue, the more your attention will flow to the object. By doing so, you will close the gap of perception. The same thing happens with strangers. From afar, they strike us indifferently or with irritation. Yet when you move past your aloofness and begin to talk, that warm body pressed too close to you on the airline seat becomes human, and the attention you exchange with every word causes a shift in how you perceive each other. If you truly pay attention, there is no other. The world becomes intimate to you when you risk complete intimacy, which means a free flow of attention without holding back, setting aside beliefs, assumptions, prejudice, and expectations. To move from separateness to unity, a state of merging at once, delicate and incredibly forceful, doesn't happen all at once. Yet there is no secret to achieving this state of communion. All it takes is the willingness to allow the flow of attention, to be mindful. If you begin to look upon everything as alive, it will come closer and want to be known. In the simple act of seeing yourself in the other, enlightenment becomes possible. And I wanted to close with my Paramahansa Yogananda's little card on enlightenment. When one is illumined, he sees himself as the one spirit, throbbing beneath all minds and bodies. Such a person, after liberating his own personality, tries spiritually to liberate all other personalities, knowing that they belong to his own self, capital S. He constantly strives to transmute the earthbound impulses of others into higher aspirations. You are immortal. So do not burden yourself with earthly limitations. Every regret for shattered hopes of success must be transformed into the joy of new achievements. Behind your body wave is the oceanic life of God. Behind your mind is the great divine intelligence. Remember, the vastness of your spirit become transmuted and awakened in God. We all can do it. We all can hit that sweet spot at every single moment and become enlightened, to know our oneness, to know our unity, to know that there is just this love of life that is ever so wanting and willing and enticing us to live it to its fullest, to give us the kingdom when we love it. And so it is. Namaste.